Hello?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I broke Joe. I asked him to do something 30 seconds before we went on air, and it messed up the entire intro. If you're listening to this,
did the video not play?
I don't think I didn't play on my end.
Jesus.
If you're listening to this and you're confused as to what's happening, check us out live every Friday on the Shuli Network on YouTube. Most likely going to be at 2, sometimes at 2:05 if we can't figure out how to play videos that I asked Joe to do last second. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Just Joking, episode 151. I am your host, Kevin Dabrowski, joined as always by our overloaded, overstaffed, and infamous at this point production team. We've got Joe, who's probably plotting to kill me anytime soon. Andy and Brett behind the scenes. Boys, you want to come on in for... What's up, fellas?
You, Kevin. That wasn't your fault. It was my fault.
Take 3.
Oh, I don't care.
Intro.
Do you want to start? We'll just put this out as the episode. Do you want to just start all over?
You want to go again from the top? We'll start the stream all over. No,
guys, if you could just go into the next room, we're just going to do this. We like to be professional and get this right.
Especially considering our guest this week.
That's right.
Yeah.
Consummate professional. You know what my favorite part about that intro was it seemed to be just a blank view of my Twitter page. Edamame beans. And then someone in the back, after about 15 seconds of dead air, just went, hello?
It wasn't me, though. Who was that?
Yeah,
that sounded like Brett. Was that Brett?
Yeah.
What were you seeing on your screen?
Same thing you were saying. Nothing.
I wonder why the video didn't play. It was obviously playing on the screen share, but I guess we can sort that out later.
It's fine. If you missed the video, just go to my Twitter page. It's a recap of last week's episode. Look at how professional we are. The first time we try to be professional and do something an actual show does, the whole intro goes to shit. The whole show's screwed. Andy doesn't blink. It's a real disaster from here on out. It was the clip was a recap of me essentially interviewing Jackie Martling through the super chats and watching his face be so confused as to what a super chat was and what the questions were. But the answers somehow were all spot on for what they needed to be comedically.
He nailed it. And not just comedically.
There's you and first off, thank you for tuning in. We're live on the Shuli Network every Friday at 2 p.m. If you are a fan of the existing show, you know you can download this, available everywhere directly after the live stream. And you can now join us every Friday at 2 p.m. in the live chat to throw in comments or make fun of the production or, quite frankly, my hosting skills at this point that I let it go for 50 seconds before someone went, hello? Take part, chat. Let's talk shit, have fun. Join in on the news stories, send in questions for all the guests that we have. It's a good time. Live every Friday, 2 p.m. on the Shuli Network. And if you are enjoying this and want to hear probably a more tightened up version available directly after, you can download this episode everywhere podcasts are available, Spotify, Apple, and those are the only two that I know. Let's move on to Joe, man. Joe's getting a lot of airtime this week on the network.
Yeah, a little bit. Having some fun. you know, Ray DeVito needs somebody there with him to, you know, bounce off of, let's say.
Sure.
It's hard, you know how hard it is to do a whole hour by yourself.
I do. I know how hard it is to do an intro by myself. So I totally hear you. Have you how has the feedback? Of course, if you're unfamiliar, I am referring to on the Shuli Network, we had a big interview where Ray DeVito had Aaron Imholt from the Steel Toe Morning Show on, highly publicized. We had shows on different networks broadcasting a show on this network. It was pure pirate radio. And which I love. I love the chaos of it all. And then there was a wrap up show, which the guys so politely called the Rape Up Show, which I thought was very fun. And then after that, there was a follow up stream from Ray DeVito, and then after that, Joe and Ray jumped on. I think it was yesterday at 1:00, Rock Bottom Podcast with Ray DeVito to break down further the episode last week and all of the airtime and comments about, look, you either thought Joe saved the show from what I see, or you thought Joe highly ruined the show. Yes. I'm somewhere in the middle. I think he was appropriate for a producer to throw in information that was needed. I thought all around it was I thought it was a successful broadcast. There was a lot of eyes going on that show. I thought that was awesome.
Couldn't ask for anything more. That's exactly what we wanted out of it. And it's got, we've gotten even more mileage out of it. Here we are a week later still talking about it. So
100%.
Not just us, other people too.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. If you are, I'm assuming if you're watching on the Shuli Network, you are a fan of the podcast drama scene where everyone talks about each other like The View. And then if you're listening to the audio, you don't know, you don't have any, get that off. You don't have any idea what we're talking about. You just want to hear jokes, which is what this podcast exists for. No interviews, no arguments, just jokes. We just have a fun time here. Not that you can't have a fun time doing that anywhere else. You can check out previous episodes of this podcast and clips on my YouTube page. I think it's K. Dombrowski Comedy. Just look up my name on YouTube and that should pop up. With all of your past episode podcasting faves like Brad Williams, Mike Cannon, Mike Vecchione, Rich Voss, and Jared Freed. Those are all going up next week, so that's a good time. This episode is brought to you, as always, like past episodes, by Silk City Hot Sauce. Check out silkcityhotsauce.com. I believe I have the very last buffalo sauce bottle before the new batch gets made. You see a label right there. You see my daughter in the shape of a buffalo. You see,
is that idiot back there too?
That is 100% Gino Bisconti.
I never noticed that before just now.
That is a pull string Gino Bisconti doll holding a whiskey bottle, and my daughter is pulling the string, and it says, "This guy gets it." Isn't
he more like his own doll that pulls his own string?
I think everyone else kind of pulls his string at this point. Yeah, that's and actually every December 29th, because Jeff from Silk City Hot Sauce and Gino share a birthday together, they do a some sort of discount deal. But if you want the deal, all the other 364 days of the year, head over to silkcityhotsauce.com. Use promo code JustJoking, save 15% on your order. Get an extra bottle of hot sauce and some stickers. And you can place that sticker over Gino if you don't like him. Place him over me if you don't like him. Don't you fucking dare do anything to my daughter. We're waiting on our guest to come in this week. He is one of my absolute favorites. He's wrapping up a phone interview and we'll be on shortly. If you have any chats you want to take part in the show, send them through. We'll read your super chat. I hate that. I hate saying super chat. It is the closest to being a teenage girl, I feel like.
Yeah, it's a lame name. About our guest, though, I was kind of curious how you landed somebody like Joe. Does he think he's going on Joe Dombrowski's podcast?
He does. Joe DeVito and Joe Dombrowski should do a podcast, and Kevin Dombrowski and Ray DeVito should
oh my gosh, that's so perfect. Yes.
Joe DeVito and I go back a very long time. I've known Joe forever. He is a wordsmith. If you're a fan of comedy in general, follow Joe DeVito Comedy on all of his social media. We'll do those plugs at the end. Unless, Joe, you want to throw it up. You got your brand new plugin.
Oh,
proud of
sure.
this?
Yeah, I definitely am. We got. I don't know if you can. Yeah, you should be able to see. Brett's been building everybody computers, so we can do stuff like this.
Brett's been building computers?
Yes, that's what he does.
Brett, you build computers?
I dabble.
Clip it. Joe DeVito comedy. You can catch him on Gutfilled weekdays at 11 p.m. on the Fox News channel. We will be going over his headlining dates this weekend, but I just found out that I'm going to be in Pottstown May 13th, baby. Guess who got a ticket to ride? Look at your scroll at the bottom. Uncle Rico and stand-up comedy May 13th at Soul Joel's in Pottstown, PA. Special guests Anthony Cumia, Cardiff Electric, and Perry Caravello. We've got look at that billing. Kevin Dombrowski, Anthony Zenhauser, Pat Dixon, and Ray DeVito. Get your tickets today at theshuleynetwork.com. That was my
Show
first
you what
time.
a tight ship we run around here. We posted the graphic yesterday with Dombrowski's face on it, and I get a text message from him. Am I on the Pottstown show? I thought everybody had confirmed all those things, but
I was unaware. My feelings were not going to be hurt. I was unaware that I was
like
on
other
Pottstown.
people.
Why? Whose feelings have been hurt so far?
I think at first, like when we first announced it and everybody wasn't involved, I think a bunch of people's feelings were hurt.
Really?
I think so.
And by a bunch, do you mean everyone except for the ones that you announced?
No, I mean mainly Ray.
So when you say a bunch, you just mean Ray DeVito was upset. That's what you mean.
Yeah, I mean Ray was texting all of us many times, so it seemed like a bunch of people, but it was just no, I'm kidding. I think everybody wanted to be involved. It's it's on the East Coast. Most of y'all are over there. It's not kind of made sense.
Sure, no, it makes sense. Pottstown, PA. It's going to be at Soul Joel's. That's going to be my first time at Soul Joel's. I'm excited to be down there. Do we know what everyone's roles are going to be? Have we discussed that?
As far as like who's gonna go where in the time slots and stuff?
Yeah, who's doing? Is it gonna be? So this is basically like a Comedy Store lineup. It's gonna start at 9 and then go until 9 the next day.
Yeah, something like that.
I had assumed you were hosting.
I would assume that too. I'd be okay hosting the whole event.
No, I think there's enough kind of. I don't know. It's like Cardiff isn't a professional comic, and like.
Okay, well, let's not throw
and
around
stuff.
professional when talking about the network, Joe.
Well,
There's a lot of.
But I think we'll probably mix in everybody, and then I think Levy will probably close the show because I just don't know how anyone follows that. Like if you've never seen Levy do stand up, like then when we were leaving for the stand-up show in Rochester, I said to Shuli, I was like, so what's Levy's? I've never seen Bob do stand-up. What's his act like? And he was like, well, actually, you know what? I'll just let you see for yourself. And there's no way to describe. I've never seen anyone do comedy like he does, and it's amazing. And I don't know how anyone would follow that.
Sure.
So.
Does Shuli go, do you have a bottle of blue cheese on you?
It wasn't that. It's just like, I don't know. It's like, what's the guy Don Rickles or whatever, sort of, but like on mescaline or something. It's like if Don Rickles was Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and doing stand-up comedy.
He's Don Rickles easing himself off Xanax.
Yeah.
But it's
Bob
amazing.
Levy,
it's absolutely amazing.
Bob Levy's, I mean, there's a reason that everyone knows who Levy is in stand-up, and there's a reason that everyone considers him a legend. And it's because he's been around that long. I mean, last week, if you're listening to the episode, we had Jackie the Joke Man and Martling on, and they were talking about, this was cool for me because they were talking about having Jackie from the 80s bring on Bob Levy, which I would assume he looked exactly the same as he does now. And running open mics and all this bullshit that they were doing at Rascals in Jersey. So, I mean, that's how long Levy's been doing it.
He gave him his nickname. I thought that was cool.
That was
He's
very
the one
cool.
that called him the Reverend.
Yes, and Jackie gave me my nickname, Kevin Who Dombrowski. It's every time he calls, he goes, "Who is this?" And I go, "Nah, you got it. That's the one."
Bob's a lot like that too. Did I tell you about the first time I met Bob when we were in Rochester?
No.
So I'm so excited to meet Bob. I walk up to him, I'm like, "Hey, Bob," and he reaches out his hand and shakes my hand and goes, "Hey, man, thanks for listening." And I'm like, "No, Bob, I work for you." And he looks me dead in the eyes and goes, "Oh, well, thanks for working then." I don't think he has any idea who I am. We're in 18 meetings a week together. I don't think he has any idea who I am.
If that's not Levy we did a roast of Gino Bisconti back when everyone was okay with everyone. We did a roast of Gino Bisconti at Stand Up New York. It was December 28th or 29th. I don't know if it was actually on his birthday.
Don't
not
you
this
normally
past year.
roast comics?
Joe is so dry. I can see how someone would be like, I think he hates me.
People want to punch me in the face.
But you keep going, and you got to respect that, because eventually you will. But I like that you keep moving forward with it.
Well, as twisted and sad as it sounds, this is what I'm paid to do.
Yeah, fair enough. I get that. So we had the roast of Gino. It was a crazy lineup. It was I was the roast master. It was Levy, Aaron Berg, Kevin Brennan. Actually, Kevin Brennan's material through Jim Stansel, Ali Breen, Anthony Cumia. It was a crazy lineup. It was awesome. Just everyone that hates him. And Levy was getting dental work done, so he had his fake teeth in. And I saw him at the bar, and I hadn't seen him in person in a while, and we were catching up, and we laughed about something, and I think he said, I can't laugh too hard because my teeth might fall out, and I need them for the roast. One of the funniest fucking lines you can ever hear from someone in person of, I can't laugh too much here. I have to save it before my teeth give out. And then the best part was Gina Levy, God bless her soul, took Bob's material and put them on individual note cards. So Bob didn't get overwhelmed while he was reading. And he had a stack of note cards. It was like it's like he just came from Staples to do the roast. And he threw each note card like Letterman going through the top 10 things that they hate about Gino Bisconti. And the fucking stage was just covered in note cards. You couldn't even see anything else. It was just index cards everywhere. Like it was his merch. It was fucking hilarious.
I don't know how he can read his own writing.
I was just thinking how he could read anything. Can you imagine it in real time like that?
Yeah. No. My early days with Bob, we had a Miserable Men message board. And when I first joined, Bob sent me a message saying, "Welcome, abode."
I don't know. He was just being Canadian back to you. I think that's actually nice of Bob.
Oh, yeah? You think he actually thought that through?
100%. I think he thought... you know what I mean? Welcome abode. Yeah, it was dude, it was so great. And Bob goes, I can't believe I read all of those. And I go, I can't believe you read, period. He had Gina write out every individual note card. It was fucking hilarious. What a great roast that is. You don't see stuff, honestly. Did either of you see the Burt Kreischer?
You're frozen, but I believe you were saying Burt Kreischer roast.
Oh, God damn it, really?
Screenshot of that. Real quick, Andy.
Am I still frozen?
Did you get it?
You're still frozen, and for the chat room, I'm still breathing.
This is hilarious. My Wi-Fi is perfect on this side. That's got to be a StreamYard thing.
That wouldn't surprise me. StreamYard, well, yeah, StreamYard.
How's that?
Andy's blinking.
Is Andy blinking? What's the chat saying about you right now? Send some chats through about Andy while we wait for Joe.
I think they think I'm mummified or something.
No, he's alive.
Yeah.
It's the guy in the top right still breathing. Flat Cat, Stepjo Depot. LOL, Andy from Ontario, blink if you are okay.
If I have my own show, you'll see a different side.
He moved all as well. I mean, you did look honestly scared.
So, roasting Gino Bisconti, is that what you guys in comedy call a layup?
It's as close to it's as close to garbage time as you can get if you're a basketball fan. That's when there's a blowout and the other team, and then they empty the benches, which is kind of what the dais was. Just empty the benches and just get everyone out there.
Like the scene in Airplane where they're lining up to smack the lady.
That's exactly what the rest was. But it was Jameson. is you just threw a shot of Jameson in his face, and then the next person came up. That's hilarious. That's exactly what it was like. Yeah, the roast of Bert Kreischer was it's on OnlyFans. I know a bunch of people that wrote on it. It's an interesting place to do a roast, though.
Are there naked people on it?
Well, I think it was on Whitney Cummings. Like, Whitney Cummings has an OnlyFans page, and I think she uses it like a Patreon. Like, I think she does comedy stuff on OnlyFans.
Should we have a Shuli Network OnlyFans? Are we leaving money on the table? Shuli hates that.
I 100% think we should have a Shuli Network OnlyFans.
Oh, imagine what we could do with Levy over there.
What kind of fetishes would you have to subscribe to an OnlyFans with the roster on this network?
Some kind of fucking mental illness or autism,
or all.
Both.
That is, I can't think of something I'd rather see less. Actually, if you want to see as close as you can get to Pottstown, PA, or to OnlyFans, come to Pottstown, PA, because Joe just told me they're also considering renting a house.
Oh, no, I really hope we are. We did it in Rochester, and it was a lot of fun. So I sure hope
Can you dude, a Shuli Network rented comedy content house is like as close to like a real world reunion as you can get. Just like everyone over the hill rubbing CBD lotion on their knees and just skirting around the house. That is, I mean, the most drama would be is one of us would probably die from old age in the house.
Before the weekend's over.
The first night we were in Rochester, the boys did like 3.5 or 4 hours, something like that. It was great.
To get into the rooms, or
no, like Levy, when we got to the house, the first thing Levy said was, which room's mine? And Issa and I were like, well, we really had, and he's like, well, I'm taking the big one. And we were like, and then he puts his stuff down and turns around and he's like, how soon can we be live? And we were like, right now. So he, like 5 seconds after he walked in the house, we were on the air, and then just sort of as everyone filtered in, it kept going, and I don't know, that video's up on YouTube. It's 3.5 hours, 4 hours long, something like that. And that's the plan, is to do all that again, plus more. Like if we get there the week before, hopefully, I would love to do the week's broadcast schedule from the content house.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I don't know that I can justify Big Daddy Dodo $199. You can finally get Bob to use the Tetsukuzzi. I 100% agree with that.
If he doesn't, somebody should.
On OnlyFans. Yes,
there you go. Boom. Look at that. See?
I honestly considered it and then thought about what my wife would do to me if I were to put my testicles in a jacuzzi at a Shuli Network house.
I'm sure she's fine with it.
Is there an Only Balls fan site?
There's got to be. There's got to be something like that. Yeah, on Pornhub probably. There's a category to watch Levy put his testicles in a jacuzzi.
Yeah, I think we should make it behind the $1,000 tier on Patreon. That's my recommendation.
You know what? I'll do it. I'll do it.
You're doing comedy at a steakhouse tonight, aren't you?
I 100% am.
You want to tell everybody about that?
Sure, it's Scotty's. Thanks, Joe. Thanks. Speaking of selling myself for OnlyFans, I'll be doing stand-up tonight at Scotty's Comedy Cove in Springfield, New Jersey, above Scotty's Steakhouse. I think Levy was there last weekend, wasn't he?
Yeah, and it went great. You should ask him how it went.
Oh, God, no. I was going to text him this week asking how it was.
No, I think, of course, he did great. I don't think it's, I don't think it was as packed as he's been used to lately. I think everywhere else he's gone, there's been people hanging from the rafters.
You're telling me a Charlie Brown's did not sell out? Joe, come on. You're telling me an Outback Steakhouse is not the demographic for
How
comedy.
big is that room?
Oh, God. Probably 80 to maybe 100. It's a small room. Look, it's a good Jersey room. That's the thing, is like Jersey doesn't have a huge scene. It's got the Stress Factory. The Dojo of Comedy is new, which is Tiff's. It's got, Jesus Christ, it used to have Rascals, which we talked about last week. It's got Scotty's Steakhouse.
And the Shitty Rascals. Everyone forgets there was the Shitty Rascals in Ocean County.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of that, there's also Uncle Vinny's in Point Pleasant. That's a fan favorite. That's where Ariel Elias is performing. And she said something about Biden, and someone who had voted for Trump said, "You voted for Biden, didn't you?" And she said, "I don't care." And then they threw a beer can at her head.
Well, because that's not an answer to that question. I'm not responding would be an appropriate answer. Like,
I think she said, "I'm in the middle of a joke, and this is a weird time for an interview."
Well, that's true.
Yeah, and then she got a beer can thrown at her head, and then they left. They left on the bill. And then she ended up going viral because of that. And then she got on Kimmel and did a late night set on Kimmel because of it.
Wow.
See, maybe that's what you need is a fan to throw a beer can at your head so you can go viral.
Guys, I'm going to be filming with my iPhone 12 at the Comedy Cove. And if anyone can throw a medium rare steak at my face, not to go viral during a joke, just so I can get a decent meal for once in my life, we'll put that up. We'll put that up on the Shuli Network's OnlyFans page.
We need to get Rustic Cuts package out his way. Yeah. This poor guy. iPhone 12.
I think it's a 13. I have no idea what it is.
I'm just kidding. It's fine. It's like breaking your bones.
Yeah, I'm at Scotty's Steakhouse tonight with Tom DiDario, I believe, at 9 tonight and 9 tomorrow.
2 shows at the Steakhouse.
2 shows, baby. We have an early bird and a late bird.
Normally,
Friday and Saturday.
What show would be busier, the Friday night or Saturday night show?
Saturday night, definitely.
Saturday night. Okay.
Yeah, Saturday night. Friday is always the worst show of the weekend, not just for me. That's every show of the weekend. The worst show in stand-up is typically Friday late show. They avoid that by doing Friday one show. So who knows what's going to happen there. I've been performing there for a long time. I like it. It's a decent place to do stand-up. I was going to tell Levy last week. I opened for him and Artie. The last time I really saw Artie before he got super clean. Artie was doing Levy was doing like a local tour with Artie. Artie was back in the circuit and Levy was with him, and it was like, the Jack and Coke days. The boys were back. And Artie was doing the Comedy Cove, and he I believe the story goes he didn't show up to the date that he was booked, which old Artie it was rare for, newer Artie it was common. And Levy, he didn't show up, and then I think they canceled and rescheduled it, and everyone showed back up for that rescheduled date, right? It was almost like assigned seating. Everyone showed back up exactly to where they were. And then Artie didn't show up again. So Levy got up, and it was right after the car accident where Levy started getting back into stand-up. Levy did like an hour and a half of like all new shit and just fucking covered for everything. So then they did another show for Artie, and I see he's there. And the Cove, I talked to the guy at the Cove. I don't know how it happened, but I ended up getting put on the show. And I was going to host, Levy was going to feature, and then Artie was going to headline. And I can't remember if when we got there, Levy was like, "Why don't I host and open the crowd and you feature?" Because I did. It was the same crowd, by the way. It was the same crowd again. They honored their tickets. Levy was like, "I did an hour and a half for these people last week." He goes, "I'll just get up and fuck with them, and then you feature, and then Artie will come on." I believe that's the way it went. Or I hosted and did an extended like 30 to 40 up top, and then Bob came on to like fuck around, and then Artie came on. I can't remember exactly which order, but I got off stage, and I had known Artie for years, and I got off stage, and he looked up, and I was like, "Hey, man," and he just went, "Good job," and like buried his head in a hamburger, and I was like, "Okay, Artie is not doing well at all." But it was such a funny thing that Levy was like, I was like, "Why don't you want to?" He was like, "I want to do 10 minutes," and I was like, "Oh, that's weird for you." I was like, "Why do you want to do that?" He was like, "Well, I did an hour and a half for these people last week,"
Kevin,
and
listen, not that this isn't fascinating. It is. And I promise you, we're going to get back to this story and dive into it in depth. But somebody much more interesting has entered the green room.
I'm going to start calling you the Crowbar of comedy. I like Joe forcibly going, you know what? Hold this. Let's fucking do it.
Yeah,
All right, our guest is here.
It was an interesting story, and I promise we'll get back to it. But let's.
Yeah. I have Michelle Obama on line 3. I have to go. Anyway.
Hey.
Our guest this week. Look at this guy. Fresh cut, beard back. Who's doing better than you? His latest Dry Bar special has 5 million views online. You can check that out. Check him out regularly on Gutfeld as a writer, panelist, and performer. Headlining McGuire's this Saturday at 7 p.m. The great Joe DeVito.
Hey, wow, that story had me on the edge of my seat, Kevin.
Fuck you. The producer said it was good.
had me on the edge of the seat waiting to leave my own apartment.
I didn't want to get into the first story because it screams you. And I'm like, I could do the stories with the producers, but Joe is too good and I've ordered it already. And I was like, in my mind, I'm just going, you got this, buddy.
Yeah. No, I'd say you effectively were killing time.
Killing something. Killing my career. Depends on what you want. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's been a while. How's things? How's parenthood going?
Oh, Jesus Christ. My kid is in a toddler bed now. Wakes up 3 times a night. I'm used to 12 hours a night of sleep from her. And I have to go in and put her back to bed 3 times. And then I have to go in and put myself to bed 4.
Not bad. I'm also in a toddler bed now. I've upgraded.
Do you still have a gym where your bed should be?
No, it's the living room. Let me, if I can turn and you see that the squat rack set up. So you'll know exactly how I die because I'll be trapped under a barbell in my little apartment here.
Sure. How do dates feel? Now, dates are when you take women home, Joe. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. How do dates feel when they just feel safe enough to come home with you? And then exactly where a couch should be when you watch a movie is just a fucking squat rack.
I'll be honest with you. I have not had a date in here since I've had the squat rack set up. I haven't.
I'm shocked.
I'm a big believer in go to her place. Go to her place. Yeah.
Do you pick her up and carry you because your quads are so big from the squat rack?
It does. Like most of the things in here look like torture devices, so I think there's got to be a lot of pre-screening before I let anybody in here.
Sure. You're the only person I know that lives in a studio but doesn't do anything out of it.
I used to have this thing. It's for spinal adjustment. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like a sling that you put in your head and you attach to a door frame and you lean back into it and it pulls your head out of it cracks your back by pulling your head out of your cervical. And that was one that I thought, as soon as I set it up, I thought, I'm going to die and everyone's going to say, oh, you know what he was doing when he died. Because it totally looks like autoerotic asphyxiation.
Sure. You either look like King of all doubters says Joe DeVito's Wi-Fi is about as good as Ray DeVito's.
It's a little jumpy, isn't it? But I don't know how to plug it directly in. I haven't had to do that. So, all right.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. If it gets too bad, we'll just pause it.
Yeah.
Carlos Danger says, hi, Ray, for $5. Joe, this is the added element of the show.
Yeah.
We now have a live audience. Look, there's a much wider audience than we had audio only, but now we get to hear from them rather than waiting for the reviews on iTunes.
Yeah, a lot of troublemakers. I hope that was $5 well spent to take a little shot at me.
Honestly, my kid thanks that shot. Yeah, the only reason you would be in one of those chairs is if you're saying you're Batman or you're masturbating.
Yeah, and this one, it just felt so good to completely feel my spine decompress and get yanked out. And I remember when I went to chiropractor, he said to me, you're only using a little bit of tension on that, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I completely was up, so just my heels were touching the ground because I really wanted to have that. When you feel that pop, it feels so good. So I should think later when I think about it.
That's actually the only way I can masturbate is when I hear that pop. All right, let's get into it. You know the
Mhm.
deal with the show. I've got some headlines just to read them to you and get us talking shit, basically.
Okay.
You are a great person to start this off with, not for any other reason than a full-on Fox News employee here.
Freelancer, please.
That's what I say to people when they
Yeah.
go, you work for Gino Bisconti? I go, I freelance on his podcast on Wednesdays.
Yeah. Well, look, you can't give me shit if I'm not getting health insurance. So that's where I draw the
That's
line.
That's true. Do they offer health insurance or do they just fill you up at the door?
I think the deal I have is I get a couple of benefits because I do work close to full-time hours. But
Sure.
it's nice. You know how it is for comedians. Like, no matter how good the deal is, we're so shiftless that we always want to have some exit route to be like, oh, I'm just a freelancer. I don't, I can leave anytime I want. That's the same thing I said when I moved into this apartment complex, and I've been here for 24 years now.
If I were to say that about my insurance plan, it would be talking about my marriage, and I would say I can leave whenever I want.
Oh, I just vanished for a moment there. Okay, I'm back.
You're back.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, it's good. I just was a spinning wheel of death for a couple of seconds.
Oh, perfect. I said if I wanted to do the same thing with my insurance plan, I'd be talking about my marriage. I would look at my wife and go, I can leave at any time. And she would say, save me the money and please do.
Yeah, she'd pack that bag, huh?
I think the biggest story of the week obviously has to be Donald Trump was indicted. They went through 34 felony accounts carrying. I love the way that is the first story, guys. I'm just introing it. I love the way that they label everything depending on what side of the aisle you're on. So 34 felony counts, right? Carrying a max sentence of 136 years. Let me tell you who's not doing 136 years in prison for fucking a prostitute. If he allegedly fucking a prostitute, it's not going to happen. But I love the way that news stories do that.
Yeah, well, you remember when Trump said he could shoot someone in the face on Fifth Avenue, and he's so beloved he could get away with it.
Yes.
Well, the way Alvin Bragg prosecutes most other people is they can shoot people in the face on Fifth Avenue, and they don't get prosecuted. So the idea that Trump's going to do any time, I think is pretty absurd.
I agree with that. I think for this crime, he'd be like, look, I can fuck anyone on Fifth Avenue and get away with it.
Yeah, well, it's the Trumpiest possible thing to get indicted for, this idea of hush money for a porn star. I like the precedent that sets. I'm more concerned about, in my own experience, could I be indicted for the women that I paid so that they would tell people I had them?
Yeah, I think you could. How many counts? How many felony accounts would that be, Joe?
I don't think it would be 134. By the way, those 134 counts, it's essentially the same count that they're just saying over and over. It's a pretty easy case.
Right. The judge just has a stutter.
Yeah, it's their way of saying, I know you're indicted, but what am I? You're indicted, but what am I?
It is such a ridiculous thing to do. Stormy Daniels is now releasing a tell-all book, which honestly, the timing is perfect. If you're Simon and Schuster or whoever she went with. And in her book, she's saying, and I quote, I've slept with much hotter men than Donald Trump in my life.
Yeah, I don't know. That might be nothing to brag about. I don't know where Donald Trump ranks on the hotness scale, but I think most people could do better. That makes me kind of glad that I have not watched any of her videos.
Yeah, really. Yeah, what kind of creature, if Donald Trump is at the top of your hot list, do you think that is?
Yeah. The video where she fucks someone who's barely as hot as Donald Trump.
It's like barely legal, but barely as hot as Trump gets fucked by stepmom in kitchen.
That should be the video she comes out now about the indictment. They could call it barely illegal.
Barely illegal fucks ex-president. He's obviously there's been it's well documented that this could honestly help him become president, which is so look, it's insane to me. I don't give a fuck about either side. I've said this multiple times on this show. I choose my politics by what I hate on both sides.
Yeah.
I don't really like much. I hate things from either side. So I kind of lean politically. You know, I do Sirius XM shows and I'm considered conservative, and I do compound media shows and I'm considered progressive. Yeah. My views literally never change. So that's kind of where the state of politics is in. But I've seen people that are like, if he's in handcuffs or, you know, he is indicted now, this is basically I mean, for like someone's hardcore base, it's like guns, it's like guns, flags, pickups, that type of shit, which, you know, I enjoy some of that sometimes.
Yeah.
To see him get arrested, but in a liberal state, I mean, like, what better fundraising do you need?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, you know, because sometimes, you know, when I look at the state of politics, it's so hard to you look at the way people behave and you think stupid or multi-level chess or you can't quite figure out what they're doing, because there's a school of thought that says the indictments are going to make him even more of a hero, which is pretty amazing. The Democrats are so screwed up that they've made Donald Trump the hero of the working man. I mean, that right there took a lot of insanity to do that. Right. It's really hard to tell because, you know, I'm hearing one side is saying, they want, but then there's another side that's saying, they want to make him the hero so he'll win the nomination and then he can lose. But the last time they did that, he won. Right.
So when you, it's so weird. I mean, when you pair him against someone as unlikable as Hillary Clinton, you know, I bet you could put someone that did shoot someone on Fifth Ave up against Hillary Clinton and she would have won.
McDonald said it best. He said, America hated Hillary Clinton so much, they elected a guy worse than her just to stick it to her. I'm paraphrasing. But when you think about it, it's sad. You know, I've said this for quite a few elections in a row that it's terrifying that this is the best we are able to come up with.
Yeah, it does feel like there needs to be some sort of refresh of the political system. You know, but I don't think that we're the right people to make this reassessment show. I think we're just here to do dick jokes.
Yeah. Oh, certainly not us. So it's, you know, it's funny. I just finished my work for Fox for the day. I work from home on Fridays, and I really have to make a conscious effort that once I finish that, I don't have to look at the news again until Monday. It's too exhausting. So it wears you out.
That's interesting for a guy like you, though, because you're personal in your stand-up, but you're so sharp with your writing. Your current event writing is, I mean, among the best in stand-ups. Oh. So it's interesting that you'd want to turn that muscle off.
Well, it's the strange times we live in. You know, when I look back at old clips of me in clubs from 10 years ago, there used to be something you talked about called current events. And you could talk about things in the news, and you didn't need to know my political affiliation, the audience's political affiliation. These were just things we all were noticing, and you could talk about them and make jokes about it. And now, no matter what you talk about, you can tell people immediately. They hear one or two key words, and they decide everything else they need to know about you. And it's such a strange thing. And I think it's sad because life's more complicated than that in a good way. You can be a person who has multiple opinions about different things. You don't need to run down a list saying that if I think this, I think everything else in column A. If I think this, I think everything else in column B. To me, it's a silly way to go through life.
Yeah, I agree. It's, you know, one of the biggest advantages of stand-up back in the day was I don't have to agree with you to find you funny. And that is out the fucking window. Yeah.
I think of the guy who stands out to me is Greg Giraldo. Greg Giraldo was so good that it didn't matter if you agreed with him. You laughed anyway. You laughed because the joke was good. And it was that very there's an extra rewarding kind of laugh where the person laughs before they've had a chance to mull it over. Hear you, and it's that autonomous response. I think the flip side of that is the good cringe laugh, where you say something, they laugh before they can go, "Whoa," or think, what are people going to think of me for laughing at that? And those are the laughs you want to get, because I think the reason people laugh in those circumstances before they've had a chance to run it through their filter is that it has that element of truth to it. It makes all good comedy work, is that you hear that thing and it's just stated in a way where you just know, oh yeah, that you can't argue against that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's such a weird time for stand up in general. It's like it's weird because there's a boom, but it's also different than it's ever been in the landscape of, I mean, you've got performers that are literally drawing lines in the sand going against each other. So it's like it's not enough to deal with like pre-pandemic was more like offended audiences.
Yeah.
And then post-pandemic, you have people worried about being out in public, and then things get better. And now it's like content-wise from comics of, you've got people that are like, is that the middle right there? You have people on I think, you and I have talked about this. I feel like people on the left and people on the right are mirrored in stand-up, but the opposite. I think people on the right, they want more progress to be able to say what you want on stage, and people on the left actually want more censorship in comedy but more progress in life. So it's such a weird dynamic to get through.
Yeah, it's very strange how things have flipped like that people on the right are the free speech advocates, and and then there's a growing pro-war left. It's a very strange time, and I'm generalizing a little bit, but yeah, I've also heard that there's never been a time in history where the people in charge of censorship turned out to be the good guys, and I think that's true. And it's also just so strange that I don't know. I guess maybe I don't care enough about things, but I don't care enough about things to someone says something I don't like, and I think I must make the person lose their job, or I must turn off this way the person does their banking. I've never had someone annoy me so much I thought I need to shut down their bank account. It wouldn't occur to me. And trust me, there's plenty of people I don't like. I'm not an agreeable person a lot of the times, but I've never thought that because someone did not make me feel a certain way that they suffer these dire consequences. It's bizarre.
Yeah, to strangers, I'll agree with that. There's been a couple people where I've been like, I'd like to shut down their life. What timing on that meme there? That's you have a good segue here. Speaking of the growing left, advocating for war, really, Trump also in the headline saying he will end the Ukraine war in 24 hours, but I won't tell you how. That's the headline. I love this guy. Yeah. I love this guy for sentences like that. Yeah. It's frustrating. I'm frustrated by both him and Biden when they're in office. I go, if you could just do this, you'd be in such a better position. Basically, if they could both not talk, I think I don't know how much flack I'll catch for that. I think Trump got more done than Biden does. I think Biden's slipping in the country and literally physically slipping downstairs. Trump, when Trump talks, you go, can you just not have an ego just for a few days because you've gotten all this shit done financially in the country and XYZ, but sentences like, look, I'll end it. I'll do it in 24 hours, but I'm not going to now you got to vote for me. It's the equivalent of like, it's a
clickbait campaign. Like,
yes.
Like you would see at the bottom of that page, it would say, here's how to end the Ukraine war in 24 hours. There's one weird trick. And then it would be a picture of someone pouring apple cider vinegar on some bananas, right? You ever see those pictures where, like, you look at it and you think, is that a lung? Is that a former child star? Well, I don't even understand what's going on in this picture. So
the secret doctors don't want you to know about curing diabetes in 20 minutes.
Yeah, and it's a picture of baby eggplants, or it's very strange, or a hearing aid. Yeah. Again, I can't believe these are our best options. It's frightening, and I think we'll never have a third party in the United States because the system won't allow it. But one of the things I love about third parties is they prevent the government from doing too many things. That's where I'm like, the more I'm a big fan of gridlock. Shut all this stuff down. You should be in charge of most of the things in your own life. You don't need to be told what to do. But people, and I don't say, I want to make it clear, I am not a rugged individualist. You see these uncalloused, dainty little hands here. So you would think I would be the first person to say we've got to keep the status quo. But the way people are so eager to give up their personal sovereignty for sometimes nothing more than likes, than clicks, it just seems very strange to me.
Yeah. You had me when you go, I'm an off the grid type person. Someone with a squat rack in the middle of his living room doesn't surprise me that you're ready for the internet to die.
Oh yeah. But that was one of the things I did when we first started the lockdowns. I thought, okay, once again, people I thought were crazy seem to have the right idea. So how do I become a prepper late to the game? Right. So I really thought, do you hoard canned food? So I got a lot. What I'm saying is I got a lot of cans of tuna I'm trying to burn through now that the supermarket's back open. But yeah, it's another symptom of the strange times that I find. I'm agreeing with people I always thought were assholes, and then people who were friends of mine are really making me shake my head. So I don't know. Politically, it can be kind of a lonely spot. But I will say this. Almost all the people that I've spoken with at Fox seem pretty rational. They're pretty good people. So it bothers me when the people I know from the showbiz side of my life, I hear them say things, and I think the person you think you're talking about only exists in your mind. That is not a real person. And then I think the argument is there are people very vested in us having this division in our society.
Yeah, I mean, the same goes with comedy too. Someone said not living in New York City is a great way to doomsday prep.
Absolutely. I don't, by the way.
It's but that's the thing is like, it's like that with comics too, because you see someone that'll do something on stage and people are like, I fucking hate that. And then you see them off stage and they're the sweetest people you've ever met. There's a comic. I won't give his name away because it'll give the bit away. It's the best 9/11 joke I've ever heard in my life. And he got off stage. It was brutal. He did it at Gotham, sold out show. It crushed. And then he got off stage and he goes, do we have any chamomile tea? I go, how do you do that? How do you just tell the most vicious, hilarious 9/11 joke I've ever heard, and then go, my throat's a little sore. Do we have any honey? I go, dude, that's the craziest switch I've ever seen anyone make.
Sure, yeah. Here he is asking for, can I just have a little compassion for my sore throat?
That's exactly
it.
Well,
it's a sign that you and I are getting older, in that there are people on the comedy stage now where the mention of 9/11, you might as well be talking about Pearl Harbor to them.
Sure.
They don't have any personal connection to it, whereas I can remember exactly where I was. So yeah, it's a weird part about getting older is that you can see the distance in years, where when you're younger you just have no grasp of that, but then you get a little bit older and you realize, that's what 10 years between an event feels like. And I don't know if you feel it, but sometimes I get the Facebook the memory things, and I'll look at a photo and think, that was like 3 years ago, and then it says 2012. It's like, my God. And okay, that's why no one in the photo has gray hair. It's caught up with us.
Yeah, I think in another 10 years, 9/11 will be new enough to go into Gino Bisconti's act. It's just on the cusp right now.
Yeah. Speaking of current events, that's what his current events are.
I love him.
There you go. It's a nice
one. Ted Nugent is also in the news because he followed up Trump's Ukraine war headline with calling Zelensky a homosexual weirdo.
Fair enough. That's the that's the kind of measured take I would take from the man who's saying Wango Tango. And and at Waco. There's so many wonderful things happening in that headline. You've got Ted Nugent, homophobic, Zelensky, Waco, and Trump rally. I don't know what else. What else do you need in there? Alligator, maybe alligator in there, and Walmart. And I think we've covered everything.
It is white trash password. That's what we're playing right now. Homophobic, Zelensky, Waco, Trump, Ted Nugent.
The Nuge. That's
so funny to me. I love that. There's oh God, what was I gonna say? Fucking Ted Nugent calling Zelensky a home. What did you? Oh God, I can't remember now. You had said something and it triggered another story that I was saying. But hold on, let me see if I could pull something up here.
My God, Kevin, pull it together.
I know, I'm trying. I had something and they threw me off with the fucking headline.
Come on, man. I'm in between sets of squats here. My time is money here.
The Waco thing, that's what you said. There was I thought you were going to say there was a lot of things that happened. Waco is one of those towns where anything you hear just adds to the allure of it. Yeah. There is a house in Princeton, New Jersey, that's Albert Einstein's house. Mm-hmm. And I heard about it and I thought it was like a museum. And when I was at Catch a Rising Star, not in the 70s, the Hyatt Regency version in Princeton, New Jersey, I was like, whatever. During the day, every comic tries to either take a ride around town or see something, get some sort of inspiration. And I was like, I want to go see the Einstein house. And I pulled up and someone lives there. It's not a museum. Someone just lives in the house. And I go, that's the weirdest thing in the world. And I brought it up on stage later as some sort of like camping thing. Luck of the Binds says Joe DeVito rules. Ray, not so much. Wow. This is a rough chat room to have the same last name as someone. Let me tell you. So I brought it up on stage as a little whatever, like the beginning of my set. And I was laughing about, can you imagine living in Albert Einstein's house and getting, the math wrong when you put an addition on? How stupid you would feel. Yeah. And then someone goes, I know who lives there now. They won a Nobel Prize. And that's, I heard it. I go, it's the house. It's not these people. It's whoever lives in the house. There. Okay. Yes, the house brings greatness out of you. That's what I think of when you say Waco. I think it just brings the chaos out of someone's life just by living there.
Mm. Yeah. I don't think you'd be expecting to hear a headline that said some good news out of Waco. That's pretty interesting about the Einstein house. It's like a reverse Amityville horror.
It's
anybody
100%.
Who moved in there got possessed and all that. Yeah, I worked. I used to work the Catch at the Hyatt. It's that giant hotel. I swear, every time I went to check in, they'd be like, "Yeah, I'm the comedian. I'm here," and they'd be like, "A comedian, comedy club." And I'd say, hasn't this room been here for like 25 years?" Or like, "Comedian? Oh, let me check in back."
Yeah. Hey, Mark, do we have reservation for a comedian?
Yeah, that's happened to me more than. That's happened to me multiple times at large places where I came in, and I thought, how is this so shocking to them that they're stunned? Like, comedian? Is he doing comedy? That happened to me at the Riviera in Vegas.
Was your picture on the hotel?
Like I did that one time. I did that. There was a sign on the desk, and I pointed. I was doing a show at a casino, and I'd left my wallet at home, which is the worst feeling. And I had tried to check, and they're like, "Don't you have any idea?" And I'm pointing to a poster of like, "Well, I'm supposed to be on stage later tonight." They think they let me in. Yeah. When I checked into the Riviera, which has been gone for over a decade now, which it was the casino where they shot the movie Casino. Mm. And at the time, they were busy demolishing every building around the Riviera already getting demolished, and it was this horrible vibe of this place is done. And I remember checking into the room thinking, well, maybe it won't be that bad. And I opened the curtains, and a wrecking ball was smashing into the building that I could see, like a legit Bugs Bunny, Miley Cyrus wrecking ball. And I thought, okay, make the most of this.
That is, if that's not an analogy for a career up to that point,
for sure.
That's fucking hilarious. The guy was like, "Hey, why is this sign talking to me trying to check into a hotel? What a weird thing to happen."
Mm,
Speaking of homosexual weirdos, there's a new law that's been passed in Florida, I believe, of all places. Is that right, Joe? Could
mm.
we pull that graphic up? I think it's in Florida.
Is the next call for I have is this one?
Yeah, let's just go right past that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't like making fun of the Whitakers. I was familiar with their video before that, and I feel like they may not have the most genetic diversity, but they appear to be people who getting by as best they can. So I'm not going to shit on them just because their family tree is a singular branch.
Oh, you did it, Joe. You did it anyway, Joe.
I did. Mm.
Yeah. Actually. How does it feel knowing that your squat bench is keeping you from having a better sex life than a Whitaker? Breaking. The gay dating app Grindr says if Florida doesn't stop passing homophobic and transphobic laws, they'll reveal every Republican legislator and party official who secretly uses the app. I'm not about as the kids say, doxing, but I love a good gotcha. That's what I'm a fan of. And like, I guess, look, I get it. If you have a family and you're outing someone, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, what fucking weight to hold over someone's head?
Yeah. Well, this is where I'm going to put on my conservative hat. I would say, tell me exactly what homophobic law they're referring to.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there's nothing that these apps seem to like better than outing people. I think it goes to show, man, that's got to be tough. Being closeted has really got to be tough because you're so horny, and that it has to manifest itself somewhere.
Sure.
And the action on Grindr must be insane because gay dudes go for it. They don't have any of that. We've had to deal with females putting the brakes on, whatever you were trying to get your rocks off. But when you double that male sex drive, it's insane.
Yeah, it's all green lights, really.
Yeah, and that's why if you want to get really just have your mind fried, have your gay friends tell you their sex stories, and they'll tell you experiences where you think, my God, how are you just saying that in that normal tone of voice, I mean, I think about it. Even there's been times where I've been just down in the West Village, and I almost get jealous. Not on Grindr, unfortunately. GPS was not working on Grindr. I'm not on any of the apps. I haven't been for a while. I logged on to Tinder during the lockdowns just to see what the hell was going on, and it told me I've been banned. It didn't say suspended. It said banned, and they don't give you a reason. I thought, I wonder what I did.
What's it? Putting a weight room in your bedroom?
I know, right? They can't fault me for that. Come on, that's not an indictable charge.
Joe, did you have something?
No, my computer was acting up. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. It's all good. Yeah, that's there is definitely something to that where I've had some gay friends talk about it just casually, where it was like, what'd you do today? I was like, I went to the diner, had some breakfast, opened up the shop, and then an alert went off on Grindr, so I just drove to Brooklyn to fuck this dude, and then I came back, and you're just like, you're almost jealous in a way where it's like, wow, so you just got the alert, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna go bang this person, and then come back and keep working. That really is like every guy's fantasy to be able.
We can't even masturbate on that kind of schedule.
Not at all. Not at all.
You
There's
just
so
slip
much
away.
There's so much planning, especially when you have a family. Yeah. There's so much planning and pre-cleaning you have to do. The cleaning before the cleaning. It's you really got to carve out a lot of your day to get something done when you have a family.
Yeah. One of my friends who's married and has kids, he told me that, because I asked him, I said, you still look at porn? He goes, no. I goes, I can't. He was complaining that he wasn't being able to masturbate. And I said, you can't sneak away. He goes, no, whenever I go into the bathroom, they hear the sound of the computer starting up. And I'm like, well, then don't bring a laptop into the bathroom. That might be what's giving you away. Unless maybe he was bringing an entire desktop computer with a monitor and a little bit trickier.
Yeah, who jerks off with an iMac? Guy goes, Dad's bringing the hand truck in the bathroom again. He's got the Model 1.
That's right. That in his gateway.
Yeah. For me to masturbate, my kids have to run on a treadmill to power my computer.
Yep, right. Dad's getting a Dell.
Joe, clip that. That's our clip of the week. Kid Rock is also in the news. Speaking of boycotting, so there has been I'm gonna try to get this person's name. I'm unfamiliar. Dylan
Mulvaney.
Listen to him trying to pretend he doesn't know who it is.
You don't see what I pulled up. It wasn't actually a news article. It was just my grinder. I pulled it up and I go, Dylan Mulvaney. Hey, Joe, I got to go fuck this person in Brooklyn and then I'll be right back. Dylan Mulvaney is being sponsored now by Bud Light and Nike and people coming out of the woodwork now to protest against it, which, again, dude, whatever you feel is how you feel. I don't give a fuck how you feel. I truly don't give a fuck what someone else does.
Yeah.
But people have gone out of their way now. So Kid Rock is making headlines. Did you see the Kid Rock video?
Yeah. Yeah. You got to say one thing about Kid Rock is that he's 100% Kid Rock at all times. He never comes home and hangs the Kid Rock hat.
Sure. Kid Rock's been Kid Rock for so long. He should be Adult Rock at some point. He's Kid Rock unleashed his militia fury and fired. I don't know enough about guns to know what type. It looked like some type of machine gun or assault rifle at an entire picnic table of Bud Lights. Would you know one of his roadies is like, you motherfucker. He shoots him, and then you see there's like a lake behind it, and all of the all the bullets spraying all over the lake. And then he turns around and he says, "Fuck Anheuser-Busch." Which, dude, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I've ever seen a bigger divorce than Anheuser-Busch and Kid Rock. I mean, that would give my parents a run for their money.
Yeah, Kid Rock is definitely a guy who likes to party. No one would ever accuse him of being related to Schoolhouse Rock. That's for sure. they know. I understand what these corporations are doing, where it seems like there are people who in marketing. Okay, I can understand you want to get the new current thing and the woke points or whatever you want to call it, but to so aggressively try and alienate your core audience, I don't see how it could outweigh that. You see it with the movies. You see it with, I recall a horrible Gillette shaver ad. You remember Gillette's campaign used to be the best a man could get. And that campaign was, you're all violent assholes. So, and then they lose millions of dollars. So I just don't understand. Maybe there's a benefit that doesn't show up on a balance sheet that's available to people like us on the outside to see. Look, if people want to hire Dylan Mulvaney, go right ahead. I don't want to hear any complaining from liberal women about stuff like this, because we're not the ones making that call. That's more in their department. So
yeah,
I guess I get more bothered when it's stuff that is I don't like it in sports. I don't like it for the really young kids. But things like, look, I don't drink beer. I don't shop at Kate Spade bags. So like, if you want to have Dylan Mulvaney prancing around in this weird, grotesque parody caricature of what a woman is, and the women are fine with that, that has nothing to do with me. So enjoy it, ladies. I hope you enjoyed your Title IX while it lasted, because you did it to yourselves.
I think you need to cock an assault rifle back and shoot Bud Lights after that one too.
Should I get my gun? I'll get my
What would Dylan Mulvaney need to be a spokesperson of in your life for you to be up in arms?
That is a good question. I would say some sort of a depilatory cream, some sort of hair removal cream. I don't like Dylan Mulvaney, but the facial feminization surgery, whoever Dylan Mulvaney went to blows away Madonna's doctor.
No shit.
That face looks a lot better. And I guess Madonna's face, the swelling has gone down a little bit, but that is, it's like you used to see sometimes the celebrities would go out in public and then the paparazzi that they had like pieces of tape here with blood come. I think Michael Douglas years ago. Do you know the picture I'm talking about? He had like a piece of duct tape and just like blood from his facelift.
Oh my
and they were he and his wife were. Yeah, they were out at a restaurant, and that's a guy who had the nerve to say his wife's vagina gave him tongue cancer. So that was a guy who was really pushing the envelope on public acknowledgments of issues.
Yeah, what an anniversary card that is, huh?
Yeah, right. Catherine Zeta-Jones, good for her for putting up with that. Pretty much not nice to say your wife has a toxic snatch like that.
I think that would be putting it more eloquently than how she felt when he said that.
Yeah, I don't think she said with her accent. Did you tell people I had a toxic snatch? And he's like, oh, well, not in those words, but
toxic snatch. Yeah, well, dude. So it's weird because Caitlyn Jenner just came out also, and weird in the way where you would think Caitlyn Jenner would be supportive over this movement, being a trans woman, but just slammed woke Nike for partnership with trans activists. Now, this is interesting to me. Because normally I think Caitlyn Jenner's a fucking idiot for no other reason than I think Caitlyn Jenner's a fucking idiot. And then you look at something like this from the outside, you go, well, doesn't that seem kind of self-hating to do something like that? But then you look further into it and it's like, well, maybe it's because Caitlyn Jenner thinks any media company that panders to, I don't know if it's a wider audience or, to society and the way that society seems to be going, that it's dumb for companies to do that. That's such a mystery to me. The whole Caitlyn Jenner thing.
Yeah.
And just the type of person that she is and the views that she have, it's incredible to me. It's incredible to me to be that type. It would be like me being like, I despise bald people. I think that company's stupid for hiring a bald person as their spokesperson.
Well, I think people, regardless of their identity, I'll use that as a large catch-all term. I think people are entitled to have different opinions. I don't think that just because you see people in one group that it's a problem if they don't fall in lockstep with all the other people. It's one of the things I don't like about identity politics is that, you're expected if you are this person, your thoughts are of this person or the kinds of people. It is very strange. I think a lot of it, it's tricky to get into this. I think a lot of it is a very strange kind of attention-seeking behavior. And I don't know if there's all that much more to it than people wanting to be in the spotlight. And I think it's unfortunate because I know people who were trans before we were even saying trans, people who they used to call them transsexuals. Right. And it usually was someone who was born biologically male and then transitioned into, living as a female. And some of those people I know, it's tough to bring up with them, but I've seen them shake their heads saying, this isn't what I went through.
Right.
So it's just it's another one of these really strange cultural moments we're having now. I don't know where it leads. I can see the idea that you want people to be able to be whatever is their most authentic self.
Sure.
And then I can see where there's some sort of weird desire to dissolve definitions of words and to control meanings of things and to make things that are essential come not based on facts but based on emotions. It's just a very strange time. So I don't know what to say about that. I would say someone who came out of a house full of Kardashians, I would say take those opinions with a grain of salt. And throw that grain of salt on your Wheaties when you have a nice bowl of Wheaties.
Joe, did you have a question?
I did actually, and I'm glad you didn't bring it up yet because I didn't want the whole interview to become about this. But I want to ask, Joe's very closely associated with a huge name in show business. We haven't brought it up yet. I'm wondering if he would like to talk a little bit about what it's like working with Kat Timpf.
Kat is great. Kat's a lot of fun. She's very smart. And I give her a lot of credit because we say so many mean things about her. We're constantly insulting her on the show, and she doesn't get upset. We did some shows on the road, and her father came to one of the tapings, and Joe Mackey, who also writes for the show, we both we were saying, we're so sorry about these jokes we make about your daughter. And her dad said, "Oh, I don't think you said anything that bad." And I said, "Monday, I said she had lice. I said your daughter had lice." And he was like, "Oh, that's kind of..." So I give her credit for that. And whenever we've needed to do a sketch where she has to be in some ridiculous makeup or making a silly face, or she goes for it. She has time. She never complains. And she does a really funny Elizabeth Warren. She does a great Nancy Pelosi. Although when she does Pelosi, she told us last time we did it that even with the makeup on, what she has to do with her voice and her face is so physically painful that she said that you guys have 3 takes and then I can't do this anymore because she's doing that face. So yeah, so Kat's great. She's a trip, and she just had her book come out, which I have around her somewhere, which I'm looking forward to reading. She's an excellent writer. So she's like, kind of like a kidster, I guess.
Does she need to drink as much as Nancy Pelosi to make those faces?
I think it might help, but I remember we were doing one where we got to the 4th take, and in between we had to wipe the tears off of her face because she was in so much pain from holding her eyebrows up that high. I'll have to send that to you. It was a pretty funny sketch. So yeah, she's a trip. She's a kid.
That's really funny. You know what I like about her is when people call her out, she's like the glasses she wears.
Yeah.
It's a look, and she's like, yeah, they're fake glasses because I feel better when I wear these glasses.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's so funny to admit. It's being in this business is rough because as a stand-up, you care profusely about your material and even your image and what people think of you, because that's what stand-up is. You're selling yourself on these people, especially when it's personal. And then you take all of these lumps to realize you got to put yourself out there. And when negative shit comes back, you can't let that. It's just a part of the conversation, and it's not a personal thing. And you have to let that personal side go. So when you get to that level, because I know she gets a lot of hate too. When you get to that level, you have to become bulletproof and realize all of this shit is this is just what you're throwing yourself into, and to own that. And be like, yeah, they're fake because I like the way that I look in these glasses. I think that's fucking cool. I think it's funny.
Yeah. Oh, she'll even tell them. She'll say, yeah, my hair is fake. She'll tell them she's wearing an extension. Yeah. That's where, again, if you're a public person, like I said earlier, how I've never felt that need to make someone lose their job. I'm always surprised what I see in the comments section where adults say these weird things that under a YouTube video, they'll just tell you, I don't like this kind of music. Well, why are you here then? What's going on?
Right.
Or there are people who on the show's Facebook page in the comments will just post anti-Fox memes 15 times in a row. And I wonder, what does that release from you that you needed to get out of your system? I always say, do you have anything better to do? But in this case, really, don't you have anything more rewarding to do than to post on a page for a show you hate on a network you can't stand? Why are you? There's plenty of things. Look, there are restaurants I don't like. I don't go there. You don't see me hanging out at the Olive Garden, so I have something to complain about. I got other places to take my business. It's just very strange. I feel like it's, again, that sort of narcissism in our culture that people think I've had an emotional response. It must broadcast. No, it doesn't need to be.
You just described every podcast network there is. That's the joy. That's the joy of doing that. It's a community coming together going, that was funny. fuck this,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's just
bad.
the back and forth bullshit of it.
Yeah.
Did you speaking of glasses, I don't know if you saw Gwyneth Paltrow just won her lawsuit.
Yes.
This is fucking hilarious to me. So this is the whitest lawsuit I've ever heard in my life. Gwyneth Paltrow was skiing, and for those of you, thank you for putting up. I saw in the chat, the producers go, "Are you looking at the chat?" And I don't like to be distracted during the show because, as you can see, sometimes I lose my train of thought. But I saw someone say, "I thought there'd be more jokes," which is true. Sometimes in the show, there's just a good conversation between comics. This is what comics do off stage and the direction the show goes. I promise you, there will be no shortage of dick jokes by the end of this episode. Gwyneth Paltrow is being sued because she was skiing and looking up at the sky, observing nature.
Yeah.
And then ran into someone. She skied into someone who injured himself to the point where his claim against her is that he can't enjoy wine tastings due to his injury. Joe, is there a more Caucasian lawsuit you can ever hear of?
By the way, I believe this happened in Utah.
Oh my God!
In case you thought it was too ethnic so far.
Are they related to each other? Are they a part of the family? Are these Whitakers?
I don't know these two white devils, but yeah, to me the best part was during her testimony when she said, "And we lost a half day of skiing." Oh,
it's the greatest. It's the greatest. If you've ever, and look, I'm a person when someone first started saying white privilege, I was like, man, you don't know how I grew up. And then it was like, were you shot at? And I was like, okay, I see what you're saying. I understand what you say.
Yeah. She was hit so hard, I believe her jade egg shot out of her vagina from the force of the collision.
Yeah, I think she's selling a candle now about the smell of her blood on a on a bunny hill.
So that guy lost and had to pay her $1, and on the way out, she gave him the old, what'd she say? "I wish you well."
I wish you well. She whispered
"Wish
it.
you well."
I think my favorite part of all the coverage is the glasses that she chose to wear. Is people compared her to Jeffrey Dahmer, which makes it. Outweights Jeffrey. Jeffrey Dahmer was he was the one that was eating black people, right?
He was. He did have a taste. Wow, what a deal on dental implants we have there. But so she was. I mean, here's one weird trick to have your entire. That's actually what shot out of the guy's mouth when he crashed into Gwyneth Paltrow. His whole bridge work came flying out. So was she wearing aviators? Is that what she had on?
She was wearing aviators compared to Jeffrey Dahmer. Joe, do we have that picture? And she was just, dude, I can't think. She's got to be fucking with people at this point because she's being sued and all she wanted was $1 in.
Even the angle's good. All she needs is the striped shirt.
Wait, hold on, go down. I think there's a comparison aside by.
No, look for there's a courtroom shot of Dom wearing this famous striped shirt. And see if you can find that. It's almost like the over the shoulder angle is the same. Gwen, sometimes I feel like she's trolling, but I think she also could be someone who's been famous so long they only exist as a reflection of themselves. There's no actual person, and to say someone's high on their own fumes literally has a candle that's supposed to smell like her vagina, the fumes of her reproductive organs. That's next level.
It really is. She's the dude. If she's trolling, she's the greatest fucking troll in the history of trolls. You want $1 in compensation. You show up to court after a skiing accident that said that you were looking at nature, and then on top of that, you wear glasses that make you look like Jeffrey Dahmer just to prove. I truly could not give a fuck what happens to me in this scenario.
Yeah. That is an unexpected layer of whiteness to add to that you would resemble Jeffrey Dahmer for his contributions. Yeah, I think it was funny in her testimony too, where she said at first she thought she was getting sexually assaulted. I don't know if she said that.
No, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, because when the guy crashed into her, her first thought was this was a sexual assault. which is strange because she thought getting hit by another skier was a sexual assault. Meanwhile, Harvey Weinstein was raping every woman near her, and they were kind of able to turn away from that. I don't know if turning away from Harvey Weinstein caused an injury that would affect the wine tasting abilities, but they seem to be very good with not getting the law involved Harvey Weinstein for many years. And I will say this: that's one of the coolest things I've heard was that Brad Pitt went to Harvey Weinstein and said, because he was dating Gwyneth at the time, and said, "You mess with her, I'm going to kick your ass." Which is nice that one person did that.
Yeah, that's the old Goodfellas. You touch her again, and you're fucking dead.
Yeah,
Where he pistol whips the guy in the driveway.
Yeah,
and then he hands the gun. Yeah.
So I couldn't find. So in the Dahmer was wearing the glasses in his mugshot, but not in court. But I did want to show you how many times Gwyneth Paltrow now comes up when you Google
nice
Jeffrey Dahmer. So.
That's good. That's good to see.
I didn't expect
put that on our IMDb.
Right. I also, I didn't expect to see a picture of Gwyneth Paltrow skinning a rat with her father out back. That was a surprising twist. Yeah. Well, that's the thing with Harvey Weinstein is on ski slopes you have at least 6 to 12 inches, and with Harvey Weinstein, apparently you had 1 to 3. So maybe that's why we didn't hear about it.
Yeah, his little mushroom penis there. Wow. What a shame that something like that could ruin what probably otherwise was an amazing sexual experience with Harvey Weinstein.
Right.
Oh.
If you're a ficus.
Oh, disgusting.
Did you, speaking of serial killers, so Murdoch obviously found guilty and been sentenced. This is the craziest shit to me. I heard this on the radio and I couldn't fucking believe this. The Murdoch family items are being auctioned off out of his house in Georgia, and you can actually get like memorabilia from this person's house with all of their initials on it and all this like crazy fucking shit. This is, dude, like and by the way, they couldn't specifically say it was the Murdoch family, but it was a highly publicized case with a family in the news prominently in Georgia. It was like they basically gave the latitude and longitude of his house. It was like, but we can't typically say. And they were like, well, does the blood come with it?
Yeah, like it turns out it's actually Stacey Abrams' baby. I like how they say hideous furniture. Does that mean it's hideous because a killer owned it, or it just is very tacky?
Right. I think it's hideous with the amount of blood stains all over it. I think this is hideous. Look at the splatter patterns on this. I'm more of a horizontal stripe kind of guy.
Yeah. Wow. That's nutty that there's recesses of the human mind where someone would look at that and say, here's the plan I have. Here's the plan that's going to work.
100%. Speaking of going somewhere dangerous, YouTubers are now in the news because there's a YouTube channel where these YouTubers go to the most dangerous places in the world for quote unquote fun. And they did that. They went to a dangerous part of the world and they were, Joe, were they killed or kidnapped by the Taliban?
Me, Joe, or him, Joe? Sorry.
You, Joe.
I believe they were. If it's the guy I'm thinking of, he was kidnapped by the Taliban and he's being held with some other foreigners.
Yes. So this is a guy, which, by the way, I think is the only fate for YouTube personalities. I think they should all be kidnapped by the Taliban. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This guy, like, what a fucking, I mean, how many, I'm so overwhelmed by the possibilities of jokes of this dude. How happy do you think he is to get the views that he's going? Do you think when he's got tape over his mouth and a bag on his head, he's like, I wish I could just see my analytics of what this video is getting? It's the ultimate. I mean, this is the ultimate purpose of his channel, isn't it?
I think so. Did you know that if you're killed by the Taliban in heaven, you get 72 influencers?
Huh? How's that for jokes?
I'd have to say, for somebody who makes a decision like this, my pity for them is rather strained. That I don't look. I've never been bitten by a shark. You know why? I don't fuck with where the sharks are. So
I'd love to hear him trying to explain to them what he does for a living and why he gets money to.
They're like, oh, we've captured another American journalist.
yeah.
And he's like, not. Have you ever heard of a GoPro?
He must seem like he's from another planet to them. There was a video that came out right after the collapse of Afghanistan and Taliban taking power again, and it was them in, I think it was an embassy, and they were in the gym, and they were goofing around, and you could see there was one of the Taliban was on an elliptical, and they're just kind of, and they're laughing, because can you imagine if you're in the Taliban, you've probably never had the thought of, oh, I'd better exercise, I need to burn off these extra calories I have as someone living this medieval lifestyle I'm getting too plump on. The idea that your life would be so free of physical stress that you would need to go to a place to bring that back in for your health, it sounds so absurd even just to explain it.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And also, how do you think, instead of like newspapers holding up, the guy's like, I have a post from last week that's got the date on my on my creator suite. If you want to see that, I don't know how else to do that.
Yeah, he's going to hold up his phone. It's going to go to usatoday.com instead of holding up the printed edition.
he's got the New York Post app, and he goes, if you don't, and he goes, hey, can you write out this ransom note? Be like, help me by here. He just doesn't know. I can type. Do you have an iPad? I'll hold up the iPad.
Hold up a Kindle.
Date. Right. Free me. Also, don't forget to subscribe, like share these videos. All right, let's wrap up the show here with speaking of the most dangerous places to go. As someone had pointed out, New York City right now is one of the most dangerous places in the world, specifically Broadway, because Hillary and Chelsea Clinton, and it's not because Hillary Clinton was at Broadway. That, although that might up the danger level if you have information. But Hillary and Chelsea Clinton were at a Broadway show, and someone took a shit in the aisle right next to them.
Wonderful.
I can't think of a better way to tell someone their opinion than dropping trow right in a fucking Broadway show. Yeah,
you don't need Yelp when you got that. That's. I think if you see someone just dropped a log in the aisle, you don't think. I wonder what they meant by that. Right? It's not an ambiguous gesture. And they said it's happened before too at that theater. Must be something in the air.
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe it's like the Princeton House. The Princeton House makes you brings out the best in you. Whatever play is happening is just making people shit all over themselves.
Wow, that'd be pretty. I think they should include that in the marketing.
I agree with that. I also, by the way, speaking of Clinton, I think Bill Clinton is having a fucking field day with this Trump thing. Trump's being indicted for hush money. Fucking Bill Clinton gets a blowjob in the Oval Office. I think every night it's going along the scanner. He's just giggling to himself with Hillary saying, shut up in the background.
And Stormy Daniels does look like his type of woman. He liked them busty with big hair. He liked big-haired chicks. It's Southern to him. He likes the hair helmets.
That's true. God forbid she wears a blue dress on one of these interviews. He might come in spants.
I don't know. I've seen those pictures of Bill, the vegan diet. I don't think he even has his lustful thoughts anymore.
Oh, my God. The guy looks like a popsicle. My favorite is that clip of when Hillary was on stage and the balloon started falling down, and Bill's looking at balloons like my 2-year-old looks at the snow when it comes down.
That was a classic Hillary reaction too. All of her reactions are so fake and robotic, where she did the point as if she's so surprised, but she doesn't know that a normal human smile only has like a certain range. And you see her jaw dislocated, like one of the right. You see like the snakes that eat entire eggs. When she's such a lizard person, she was like.
Just people hanging from their cells.
Oh, there was a great meme. It was Bill Clinton in his prime and then very old, beat up, dusty Bill Clinton, and it had the two pictures next to each other, and the caption said, "And that, ladies, is how you suck a dick." So that's as if that has removed his license from a 30-year-old blowjob.
That might be the title of this episode now. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the show. Listen, buddy, great seeing you. Great seeing you in pauses on your Wi-Fi. Good seeing you when you clear up. I loved all of it. You're absolutely one of my faves. You know that, dude. I'm so happy for the success you've been having with Gutfeld. Keep going. Check Joe out. Where can people see you live, my friend?
I'm going to be at McGuire's on Long Island Saturday, and I've got East Providence, Rhode Island coming up. Got the Borgata coming up. So if you go to joedevito.com, I got the full schedule, and the social media handle is @JoeDeVitoComedy.
Beautiful. You can check me out online at Kevin Dombrowski on all of my social media. My schedule is quite filled for April, which feels good. I will be in Utica, New York. I forget. God damn it. I can't think of the name of the club. It's like a chuckle. Yes, it's Fat Cats. Yeah, I was gonna say the Chuckle Hut. I'm at Fat Cats in Utica, New York in 2 weeks. I'm in New York City this weekend. And then the end of the month, I don't know. I got something else. Just go to my schedule. Just go to kevindombrowski.com. I'm at Gotham the whole time. So that's a fun one. For 2 nights. Gonna be 6 shows. That's a fun one. 5 shows, 6 shows, whatever. And then obviously come back next week for another episode of Just Joking, presented by SilkCityHotSauce.com. No interviews, no arguments, just jokes. Come on back.